lunchtime at high school, where would we find you? Come on, Megan, you don't need time to think about it. Just go back to your
good old days at
San Clemente High.
San Clemente High School. I remember, like, I think it was like my sophomore year, we were like allowed to leave campus for lunch, and that was a big deal. So you find somebody, if you weren't able to drive yet, who could drive. And I think, you know, Pedro's Tacos is where we go in San Clemente. If you know, you know, very, very often. So that's where I'd say, for the most part, I would say Pedro's Tacos in San Clemente is where you find me off campus back in high school. Yeah.
Would you smoke cigarettes?
No! Goodness gracious. No.
Well, don't you remember there's always the group that would leave? That would leave or go to the very back.
There's like an alley behind
I don't feel like there were. I don't feel like that was a thing. I mean, there were definitely people who would like they'd use that as an opportunity, and maybe I did once or twice to like not return after lunch.
Are you saying that occasionally you did not return after lunchtime?
You'd be with friends and
it was just convenient.
Have distractions.
Especially your senior year.
Yeah.
Kind of under control.
Yeah, it was a good, sometimes you figure they won't notice.
You're human.
Somehow
they do notice. Exactly.
They do. All right, Eric, how about you?
Well, there was a quad. We had a closed campus at Hoover High School in Glendale, and there's this one section on the quad where I would sit with my friends, and then we'd all...
Was there a wall? Did you all sit on a wall?
We sat on a wall.
Yeah,
exactly.
There's always a wall.
Just like observed what was going on, who was walking past, commenting on the various people.
Would anyone dare sit in your space on that wall?
Or it was like no, everybody knew that that's where the losers were.
No, it's not losers.
It's like losers corner. Here they are. You know, I mean, these are guys who are not on the football team. You know, they're not very popular.
You were track.
I was a track. Come on, who cares about track?
Nobody cares about
it.
Quite a few guys think we had on the
cheer squad at the track meet. No, well, we don't have the cheer squad at the track meet. Yeah, nobody cared.
But the cheer squad generally only came to football and basketball. Like baseball, it never came. Cheer squad never came out.
Right, but
no
baseball,
cheer and soccer.
You know, baseball is probably a notch below football. I want to say, but you got to go way down to get to track.
No.
I really do. And track is a great sport. I want to say this, you know, track is really the only truly integrated, or was at that time, the only truly integrated sport with boys and girls. You know, we practice the same as the girls, together, all together, same stretching exercises, same workout, everything.
And you're still doing it today. He's not playing football anymore.
Well, he is.
Fantasy football.
Oh, yeah, fantasy football. Okay, that counts.
Where did you hang out?
So, at Villa Park High School, we had, it's probably still there, a big outdoor amphitheater, and there would be bench seating. And a lot of times we'd just go there, and that's where we would eat, and we would just hang out on the benches. And, you know, it was just a big group of people. That's generally what. And there was another wall not too far, and occasionally we'd go between those two places. But
there's always a wall.
Yeah, there's always a wall. That was much more in college. There was a wall.
Yeah.
The fraternity would hang out. It was one, you know, and the fraternity, like, if you were in one fraternity, you didn't dare go and encroach on where you knew the other fraternity kind of hung out a little bit. And I'm sure in high school it's probably very.
It's funny how these pecking orders develop.
Yes.
These areas where some people go, but other people wouldn't go there.
Right.
You know, and it's like everybody gets their own real estate, and that's it.
So true.
I will say this about track before we move on and get Kristen's answer. I was, you know, playing sports though, I thought track was kind of a crossover in many ways. There were a lot of guys that would play in the football team or the basketball, and they also ran track. It depended, obviously, on you know, fall sports. You can do track because it was more of a spring sport. And in basketball, there was kind of a carryover. So I kind of feel like track was one of those, like you said, integrated, but a lot of times you would get guys or girls from other sports that would run track. So it was kind of a good mix of people. I always remember I ran track freshman year. That was it. I was not very good at running. I don't like running. To me, that's not a stress relief.
Yeah.
Right.
That creates more stress. Yes, exactly. But I do feel it is one of those, it was always there were a lot of people, so there was always a lot. That was the great thing about track, though. There was always a lot of people, and always a lot, and you kind of had some downtime in between a little bit.
You could talk.
Like in basketball practice, the coach would just work you over and over, and it was just like nonsense. It was like 12 of us, too, so you kind of, but track was good. Track is cool.
What I like about track is you're competing as an individual
and
with your team.
Yeah, it's fun.
See, Eric, you were cool.
I was not.
You're cooler than you think.
I really was not.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're really cool now. You go back to your high school, you know, reunion.
You know what?
Yeah.
You walk into your high school reunion and you still feel the same way you did when you were
Sometimes
16,
you do.
17 years old.
Well, you know, as you get older, you tend not to, but I feel like a lot of the people that really felt that they were something in high school, generally speaking, you hear this all the time, no, generally they're still living their high school years.
Right.
And, you know, those people, you kind of feel that a little bit, and there's that list a little bit, but most people just kind of ascend past that. It's just like, you know, yeah, hey, we're all, it comes down to how's your family, and it's
right.
less what you accomplished in high school, and just you all have something in common. But anyway, we got sidetracked. We tend to do that, or at least I did. All right, Kristen, what about you?
We didn't have open campus until senior year, but senior year I'd always go to my friend's house or sometimes home for lunch.
And then did you come back?
Would I go back?
Yeah.
Well, usually.
I feel like that was very gutsy of them. Like,
yeah.
You know?
Well, I mean, we were all
Maybe
so excited whenever we had open campus and we could leave.
Right.
None of us could. It was like really annoying before that.
Yeah.
We weren't even allowed to go outside, so.
Oh.
You know, anyway.
What do you mean you weren't allowed
It was
to go outside?
Midwest.
Yeah,
So
well,
was
we
it
couldn't.
weather?
We literally weren't allowed to leave the school building when we were having lunch hour.
Oh, interesting.
Unless we were senior.
I feel like I remember that too. There was always somebody, because it was a closed parking lot, there was always somebody out front, and you had to have some sort of clearance to get out.
Right.
It wasn't open.
We had a guy, or at least I know we had a guy, he'd like sit in his truck with his little binoculars, and he'd just know who everyone was, and you're like, you don't want to get caught by him.
There's every school has somebody like that.
Yeah.
Right? And I do
Exactly.
think he worked there, so that's the other thing. He wasn't just some guy, that's my joke. Alright, our viewers though, had some really good answers. Cheryl Ann said, during my senior year, in Senior Square, where only seniors were allowed to go, any underclassmen caught there would be thrown into the trash can as punishment. This is an actual picture.
Trash can. Goodness, I thought that only happened in movies.
Well, I guess not.
Well, trash cans in wedgies, like that was very, or like, you know, in the men's locker room after football practice, whoever.
Whipping people with wet towels.
Exactly. Like that stuff, that was
That
right.
actually happened.
It actually happened.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. There were things, in a lot of ways for young men, boys, whatever, it's kind of like a rite of passage. Now, obviously, it's a form of bullying, abuse, and I'm not saying that's not, but part of that stuff, maybe to a lesser degree, is part of that culture, good or bad, that we all experienced back in the day.
Yes, for sure.
Alright, other viewers here. Claudia said she'd be in the quad. That's where everyone hung out in the 60s. Susie said in the cafeteria. Ty Man said off campus, going to the burrito shop. Fabio said, at home, always ditching school. We've got a couple more on Facebook. Joy said off campus. Trisha said outside with my friends sitting on a brick planter box around a tree, laughing and having a conversation. Sandra said back in the day it was Mickey D's. Jeffrey said usually outside the quick snack line waiting for one of those big cookies so I could trade it in for a hit of smoke in the parking lot. It was the early 70s, wink wink.
The whole system goes.
Right?
That's funny.
Oh my God.
Rob sent this picture in. He said, my best friends and I had sack lunches from home on campus at an area called the Nipa Hut. We graduated back in 1977 from Wagner High School, then Clark Air Base in the Philippines. Our fathers were career U.S. Air Force. Pictured here, their 40-year reunion. That's cool. That's great that they're still in touch.
Yeah.
Derecho said in the editing room, and I was inside the band room. I spent the first 3 years in there, then hardly ever went to school my senior year. Megan said in the gym lifting weights. And then we got a couple on Instagram, eating with my friends somewhere in the lunch area. Timmy said he was homeschooled, so I would have been at the dining room table. I helped out in the cafeteria. Afterwards, I would hang out in the main quad. Teacher's lounge getting coffee. That must have been nice because we couldn't find our way in there. We've got round table pizza. And then Carol said with the boys, either in the parking lot or in the park across the street.
There you go.
We had some fun answers.
There's a lot
of questions about that.
I was gonna say, there's a lot of inferences there. I think they were innocent, but we
Well,
But we don't know for sure.
we don't know for sure.
I'd have to ask her at some point.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on, shall we?